operational support, the people who provide the support to be able to get something off the ground to make it happen, the people who manage the infrastructure, who actually would give you the support for setting up your networks, make sure that the product is up and running. Those are the people who are in the off support, and that's why, again, it's important to identify these stakeholders as well. Project manager, again, very important, very relevant, the authority and the person who can actually kind of issue the approvals to some extent, um, connect you with different people who have got the authority to actually take decisions on behalf of the sponsor, for example. And they're the people, the project managers often are the people who could actually connect you with the external stakeholders, or the senior management within your own organization, or the other departmental, other team members, other team managers, QA, QC. So you can actually kind of get access to all those different stakeholders via the project managers. Again, very important. Regulators, very, very important, because we are talking about the different types of regulators and domains. For example, in the context of automobile, we've got different regulators when compared to finance. So and again, if you talk about retail, you've got different kind of regulators as compared to healthcare. So we need to be aware of the regulators and their regulations, the laws that we need to abide by and comply. The compliance to those regulations and laws is very critical. Otherwise, we might get slapped with a huge, huge uh, penalties if we don't abide, if we don't comply. So very important. Sponsor, we're talking about the sponsor being a key stakeholder in any initiative that we're talking about. So it's important we keep them engaged, we keep them abreast of what's happening on a day in, day out basis. If there are any problems, let them know firsthand, because they're going to understand, and then perhaps even help you take a decision better and quicker. So suppliers, again, very, very important, because you're talking about some of the components that could be coming in from the vendors. And then again, we're talking about preferred vendor management, preferred vendors, the vendor list that we would maintain as part of the organization, and how you would maintain that kind of relationship, because again, it's all as part of the value chain. You need to really know where the components are coming from outside, who's supplying what, how do they come inside our organization, and what are the process involved to turn those raw materials into the final product. And once it is there, how can we actually deliver it to our distributors, our retailers, and from there on into the customers? How can we make the customers get their hands on our product? So all this forms part of the supply chain, as we call, or the value chain. So very, very critical. Testers, very important. We've been talking about different kinds of testing, the performance testing, not just functional testing, but performance testing, load testing, stress testing, security testing. And as we talked about, pen test or penetrative testing, which is about making the product or application hacker proof. So all of these are basically different types of testing, and automated testing, for example, is very critical for agile product development. So all of these are going to be the stakeholders, and different examples, different types or different versions of stakeholders that we need to interact with on a day-to-day basis. So when you talk about the context of product development, for example, senior management, CXOs, we discussed these. They're going to be the key stakeholders in a product development initiative. If you're trying to work on a change management, change program initiative, they're going to begin, or even a process reengineering, process improvement. All of these would actually have the key stakeholders, the senior management, director level of personnel as the key stakeholders. They drive the whole project forward. Product manager, director, project managers, ops teams, project teams, pre-sales, sales support, business development, marketing, product development team. And then we're talking about the business analyst sitting here, who's actually kind of the fulcrum of all of these different stakeholders. And then we interact with the customers, with the end users. As I mentioned, customers could be different from the users in some context. So you need to really have a clear differentiator. And then any other key stakeholders apart from this, the suppliers, the regulators, the competitors, as we were talking about, even those could be the stakeholders sometimes. You need to understand what they're up to, and try and emulate their initiatives, their processes, their frameworks, sometimes it's important to be to do that as well. So competitors also are critical stakeholders that we need to beware of.